is Keely and I'm the owner and creator here at Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for another soap making video. Today I am using Hot Jam Doughnuts from Eroma. It is a really warm, comforting fragrance that has notes of strawberry, raspberry, buttermilk, some sugar and a bit of vanilla bean in there as well. It does have 6.5% vanillin in it, so we are going to be making a very dark brownish sort of coloured soap, but I'm really pleased with the end result of this one. So let's go and see how I make my Jammy Donuts soap. Okay, so we are ready to make this next soap, and I have all my usual oils in the bucket here, and in my big jug I have my sodium hydroxide solution dissolved into some distilled water as well as a little bit of tussar silk. And I'm going to start the soap as I always do by pouring this down my stick blender to stop any splashback. I'm then going to mix it up and separate it out for a couple of colours. So the first one I am going to pour off, I'm going to pour this one for some white, and I don't need a lot of it. That is probably enough in there, and I will not be putting any fragrance into that jug. In fact, I will put a little bit more in there because it just looks like I may be a little bit off. It's really quite hard to know how much sort of soap you want to pour off into each of them, unless you're doing layers and you know exactly how much you want in each of your layers, but that's for a little bit of piping. I'm now going to pull that out of there into that jug so it's out of the way. I'm going to pour this one off for one colour. That should be plenty. And then I've got two other little jugs here as well that I'm going to pour out. It looks like that afternoon sun is about to come on over, so I'll get these poured and then I will pull the blind down. Okay, so that's the blind down there. Into my white jug, I will actually put some titanium dioxide, but in fact, I will do that now because I want that to set up a little bit for me. Okay, so the fragrance I am using today is Hot Jam Doughnuts. It does have 6.5, I think it was, percent vanillin. So I know that this is definitely going to darken. Just going to even those two up a little bit. So what I'm going to do, because I know that this is going to darken, these two little pots which are going to be accent colours are also not going to get any fragrance in them. And I'm going to split the rest of my fragrance between these two buckets. Probably should have put my colour in first. I've gone a little bit backwards today to what I normally do, but oh well. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, you can actually already see that that is starting to go brown in the soap. So I'm actually going to keep the base of my soap as a brown colour. So this one here is a nice dark brown. This is Mocha Mica. And then into my other pot, I'm going to do a little bit of interest with the brown, a little bit of extra swirl. I am going to put in some Latte Mica as well, and these should both actually darken over time. In my two little accent tubs, I'm going to put some reds. So into the one of them, I am going to put in some really red mica. And then into the other one, I have got some new mica in from Heirloom Body Care, and this is a raspberry red mica synthetic. I'm really hoping it's going to have a little bit of sparkle to it, like the synthetics do from My Micro Obsession. I'm going to put about that much in that one. I'm going to get these colours mixed in, and then I will start to pouring. Wow, this fragrance is smelling so good. Normally I don't go so much for the foodie fragrances these days because it's something I've noticed my customers don't really like. They like the fresher sort of smells in their soaps. But I bought this fragrance to make donut bath bombs with. But me and bath bombs, well, we kind of have this love-hate relationship. I love to make them and they hate me making them. That's the kind of relationship we have. So this Jam Donut fragrance has sat on my side for so long, and it really does smell nice. You get the strawberry and the raspberry smell come out of it, and it's just got that real creamy vanilla buttermilk sort of smell to it as well. It really is such a lovely fragrance. I thought, well, let's turn it into a soap and just hope that it does actually sell. So in here I'm going to do an in the pot swirl. I'm just going to dump all of that in there. This fragrance is playing really, really nicely. This is actually thinned out, which I'm quite surprised about. Don't know why, I just had imaginings because it was such a sweet fragrance that it would speed up on its trace there, but it's stayed nice and fluid. So we've got all of that poured in. I'm going to go and grab the mold and we're going to pour a majority of this brown into the mold. And I'm just going to pour from one spot and let the soap do what it wants to do. We've got most of that poured in there, and now what I'm going to do with this red that I've got left, and this is kind of to represent the strawberry and the raspberry smell that is in this fragrance, I am just going to do a very simple drop swirl with these. Just give this one a bit of a mix as well, and in we go. And I'm hoping that by not putting any fragrance into these reds, these ones won't discolor and they'll be nice and bright against that brown background. Making sure I'm coming in to the corners so that each and every bar gets a little bit of color in there. Now these reds are slightly thicker than that brown is because there is no fragrance oil in there, and that fragrance has actually thinned out the batter, so we should get some really nice drop swirl in there. I'm going to get these pots scraped out because we don't really need any left over. And yes, I did think twice about whether or not to leave myself any. We might leave just a bit of that darker red, I think. Alright, yeah, I'll leave just a little bit of that dark red just off to one side for now. And I'm going to finish pouring my brown in here. I am actually going to pour the rest of this red on the top because I don't think what I kind of had in my mind will actually work, because by the time I get around to doing it, this is going to be too thick and not pourable anymore. So we will get that all dribbled out onto the top. And then I'm just going to grab myself a skewer and I'm just going to run it through the top here just to give it a little bit of swirl and pattern on the top so it doesn't look like just red messy lines. Alright, and now that I'm at the end, let's get that swirled into the corner as well so that every bit of the bar has some pretty red swirl through it. I'm now going to let that sit here for a couple of minutes just to harden up the top, and then by the time that's hard enough, this should have set up nicely to do a little bit of piping. Okay, so the first thing I am going to do while my soap is still quite wet is I'm going to sprinkle on some of these salts, and these I actually showed you how I coloured them in the midweek video, so I'll leave a link up in the corner so you can go and check out how I coloured these as well as make the embeds that I'm going to be putting on here. But what I'm going to do is just give that a bit of a sprinkle across the top with the idea of it's meant to kind of represent that cinnamon sugar that you get on the top of your donuts, and there's like a mix of the Epsom salts and some pink Australian sea salt. So there's a couple of different grades just to give it that little bit more texture. I am loving that gold against that red. It's so pretty. So we'll get those bits on. And because I'm putting this on now, hopefully when we go to cut it, a majority of these salts will actually stick to that soap and not fall off. But just to be on that sort of safe side, I'm going to give this a knockdown so that those salts really adhere onto the soap. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do into my biodegradable piping bag here, I have a Wilton 2D tip. So it's like a open star tip that has had all the ends squished in. And all I'm going to do is put a dollop of cream into the center of each of these soaps. Like so. These will all end up getting kind of cut, but I just want them to be mainly in the center here, so it looks like a nice big piece of cream in the middle of your donut. So I decided on this video I was going to leave a fun little poll up in the top right hand corner for you. Who here likes donuts? And if you do, what do you prefer? Do you prefer a baked donut or one of the fried donuts? Personally, I'm a fried donut kind of girl. I don't understand baked donuts. I say I don't understand. I don't like them. It's like eating a cake rather than a donut. I like them fresh, hot out of the fryer. That is how I think donuts should be. So please, please, please don't hate me, but I really do not understand Krispy Kreme donuts. I don't know why people go nuts for them. It's one of these things, like in Australia we do get the Krispy Kremes. They're generally sold out of one of the service stations here, but there are also Krispy Kreme outlets, but there's not that many of them. And there used to be this thing when we lived up in Cairns, there were no Krispy Kreme places at the time up in Cairns. I don't know if there is these days. I would say the 7-Eleven petrol stations actually do sell them, but whenever we used to get any of our salespeople come up from Sydney, if they didn't bring with them a box of Krispy Kreme donuts, oh my gosh, did they get in trouble with the staff. But I for one just never understood them. I would much rather have a piping hot donut from out of the fryer instead. So what do you prefer? Let me know either down below in the comments section if you can't access the little eye up in the top right hand corner, or partake in that little poll and let me know, what do you prefer? A fried donut or a baked donut? Obviously the baked ones are probably a little bit better for you, but on saying that, it's always the baked ones that get all these huge decorations put onto them, so they're probably not any better for you than one of the fried ones. But I'm going to actually decorate this one with the little donuts that we made in the behind the scenes video, and I am just going to line them up on this one side of the soap, pushing them in just to make sure that they don't fall out on me when we go to wrap them up. And then I'm trying to decide whether or not to put raspberries on the other side. Let's make sure that they're nicely lined up. While I'll decide on the raspberries later, but I will concentrate on getting these ones in. The only thing was with donuts, I actually just prefer the cinnamon donuts with just the cinnamon sugar on them. My mum liked the Hot Jam Doughnuts, whereas I always preferred for them not to have the jam in the middle. But there is a stall that comes to the Twilight Makers Market, and he does vegan donuts. And it's not that I'm vegan, it's that the vegan donuts don't have butter in them. And he does these vegan donuts that are just the absolute bomb. He does them as a deep fried donut, and then he puts a hole in them and he fills them with a filling. And there's all sorts there. You can have things like chocolate ones, there's Tim Tam ones, there are the ones I generally have because I can have them. There's a lemon sherbet one and a lemon passion fruit one, and he does the raspberry and the strawberry jam donuts too, and they are just so good. It's kind of like my monthly little treat is to have a donut from off of his stand. I'm going to get that one in there, and this one here I'm actually going to flip over and go this way in here. I'm going to push that one in. I'm thinking, oh, I don't know. No, I'm not going to put the raspberries in there. I think it might actually ruin it if I do. But what I have got, I was going to save that bit of red soap to drizzle over the cream, but I figured by the time I'm ready to put it in, it won't be pourable. So I've actually just mixed up a little bit of that raspberry mica in with some olive oil, and I'm just going to drizzle it over the cream just to make it look like a little bit of raspberry coulis or something along those lines. Get that over this cream. And that is just looking so good, so mouth-watering. It really actually is a very nice fragrance as well. Nice and creamy, fruity, but it's not obviously a sweet bakery smell. So I'm really pleased I have actually put this one into a soap. That is looking really good. What I'm going to do to finish that cream off, I'm going to put a little bit more sort of glitter stuff on it. So I have some Blizzard mica. I'm going to spritz the top of it so that all those little creamy wrinkly lines get picked up and defined. And then I'm going to bring you down for a closer look of our Hot Jam Donuts. Alright, so here is Hot Jam Donuts up close. One day, I hope in my lifetime, we will get smelly vision so you could actually smell this. It smells so good. That gold salt against the brown and the red is just gorgeous, and those donuts, they look so yummy. I'm going to leave this one sit here overnight, and then we're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to cut it open and see what our little drop swirls look like. I am now ready to cut open Jammy Donuts and see what we've got on the inside. I'm really loving how that pinky reddy colour is sitting against the brown along with that gold salt on there as well. I'm going to lay this one on its side so I don't drag any of that salt through the bar, and we'll get it lined up and hopefully miss all of those little donuts sitting on the top. And it looks like we will. So let's go on through and see what we've got on the inside. This one's nice and easy to cut today. Alright, so let's take a look at what we've got on the inside here. And that is looking really, really good. I'm loving that in the pot swirl of the two different browns. And those drops that make it look like some raspberry and some strawberry jam in there are just beautiful. I do have a little bit of fragrance leakage I can see mainly around the top of the bars here, but I know from past experience if I leave this to sit here for a couple of days, that will all seep back into the soap, and it really doesn't affect the soaps when you go to use them. It is smelling wonderful. Even though it is a bakery smell, it doesn't have that sort of bakery essence to it, because as I've mentioned in other videos, my customers aren't really into the whole bakery smell when it comes to soaps, but they do like the sweet smells, and you definitely get those raspberry and strawberry notes come through on this one, and it doesn't really smell like you are washing yourself with a donut. I am really, really pleased with how this has come up, and those swirls I think are just absolutely perfect as a drop swirl there. Really just very, very mouth-watering to me, and I don't often say that about soap. Loving the tops with that dollop and cream and that little donut as well. So I hope you have enjoyed watching how I make the Jammy Donut soap. If you did, why not leave me a thumbs up and any comments down below. If you've got any questions, I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And if you haven't already, why not pop on over to the Instagram page and follow along with me on there, because I do post lots of behind the scenes pictures, and especially on the stories I share things that I do with my family, my husband and my two dogs. And until the next video, I hope you have a great week, and I will see you then. Bye!